The first thing is your website is everything. It's your marketing. It's your digital front door, and it has to be simple, clean, mobile friendly, and guests should be able to book it in about like 1, 2, max 3 clicks. Because if the experience feels clunky or confusing, they're going to go book on Airbnb or Vrbo. And that's like the main thing, because it's also your brand. And that's the first experience that guest has with you. But then going back to keeping it simple is direct bookings aren't one big push. It's not one big move. They're small, intentional steps that build on one another. Start with your website, make it clear, make it trustworthy, then layer in the email marketing, then build in the discounts. Just keep that relationship going. And then finally, you can add the upsells. You can automate. You're not stuck in the inbox. And that's really, where tools like Crafted stays, but Hostfully also shines.
Before we bring on our guest, I wanted to talk just a little bit about something that I've been hearing a lot from hosts. I keep on hearing the same thing. I know my website isn't converting, but I can't afford $8,000 on an agency to rebuild it. Here's the thing. You're letting all these marketing strategies, you're driving traffic, and you're putting it all to work. But if your site isn't really built to convert, you're basically lighting your energy and money on fire. And even if you could afford an agency build, every time you want to test something or make a change, you're having to pay them again. You can't iterate, you can't test, and you really can't improve on things. You don't need a custom $10,000 website to get the conversion rates that really matter. You just need the right platform. That's why I built Crafted Stays. It's purpose-built for short-term rentals and designed from the ground up to help you drive more direct bookings. You can finally turn that traffic into bookings. And you can keep on testing and improving as you learn. You can make changes all on the platform. You don't need to learn something new. So if you need some help or you want to get started, go ahead and go to craftedstays.co and start your free trial. Now let's bring on our guests and dive deep into hospitality and marketing. Hey folks, welcome back to the Bookseller Show, the show where we bring in top operators to discuss hospitality, operations, and direct bookings. On today's show, I have the Hostfully Senior Director of Partner Development, Frank Bosi, on the line. He is a phenomenal person. He's been in the industry for quite a while now, first from luxury hotels, now to really servicing the industry through technology. I've met him a few months back when we were doing our partnership together between Crafted Stays and Hostfully. And he's just so knowledgeable, so well connected. Really, what I also like is just how in tune he is with really where the market's going, where the customers are at, what products and features are they looking for. We have a really good discussion about really what makes Hostfully different than some of the other PMSs out there. I learned really a lot about what's driving their growth and really how they're able to be so successful as a PMS. There's lots of PMSs out there and there's many to choose from. But there's this different flavor that I get from Hostfully that I wanted to kind of pick apart on the show. And it's really good to kind of hear from him what's on the inside that we don't get exposed to when we're shopping for new technologies out there. So definitely, if you're looking for a PMS, you don't have one already, or if you're looking to explore different PMSs, it's a good conversation. If anything, just to learn kind of what goes into operating a PMS and the use cases there and what makes different PMSs different. And definitely also really just seeing how some of the things that the company has been really focused on, what some of the features that they have, some of the successes that they have, and really also like what it took and what it meant to integrate into Crafted Stays. So without further ado, let's bring Frank in. Hey Frank, welcome to the show.
Hey Gil, how you doing? Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's about time. We scheduled this showing so many months ago. It was so hard to get on your calendar.
I don't know.
So
you're the one
busy.
that's high in demand.
I think we both live pretty busy lives, and I feel like the rest of the year is probably not going to slow down.
Here's the hope, and my calendar does not look that way.
Yeah,
especially with VRMA coming up, a lot of preparedness going into it. So we're stoked.
Yeah, luckily we're not showcasing at VRMA this year at least.
But you'll be there, yeah.
But I'll be there. I'll be there.
It looks scary.
I'll be there on the Monday.
Okay.
So any of our listeners, I'll be there Monday. I won't be there Tuesday. But I'm flying in mainly to kind of meet with our partners. So I definitely want to spend some time with you when we're out there. So, but yeah, I bet you you're busy. You guys have a big booth when you're out at VRMA.
Yeah, it's growing year over year. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I remember when I joined like 5 years ago, we had like the table with the cloth and like a tiny little booth. And now I think we have a corner this year. So I'm pretty stoked for that.
You guys had like a double or triple booth last year.
We did. Yeah. Yeah. Pedro, my boss, CRO, he went all out with the booth last year. He bought like the stands and the laptop holders and a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, we've been using it. We've been around too. We've been to a ton of conferences this year, and anticipating more next year.
You gotta tell me which ones you're gonna be at. I'll try to fly around the globe and
deal. Yeah, when we confirm our 2026, I'll just send you the file.
Yeah, we have a couple. There's no PMSs at this one, but one of my favorite ones earlier this year was Level Up. I don't know if you ever been to one of those.
Yeah,
if you did,
we went 2 years ago.
Yeah,
yeah.
As an attendee, I didn't experience it as a vendor, but as an attendee perspective, that one's a really fun one because it's just so different than any other conference out there.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, my guilty pleasure, and all of my colleagues can tell you, is their conferences. I love conferences. The RMA is the biggest in the industry, obviously, but I think a lot of the ones that I'm really enjoying lately are like the small ones, like Level Up Your Listing, STR Wealth, like smaller, like summit style, where you can, have like more intimate conversation. Because at VRMA, if you don't purposely have intimate conversation, and you and I are good at that, sometimes it's a little overwhelming for people, but, again, I always look forward to VRMA, but it's the smaller conferences that I've been really enjoying lately.
Yeah. The one thing you have your team backing you on this, like when we go into like conference prep, like my schedule it's packed because like I'm working with the team pretty intimately to figure out like how do we want to set up our booth and how do we want to like how do we want to showcase ourselves. And yeah, I wish I had the team that you guys have to help me release some of that stress. It's stressful.
Yeah, but yes and no. But sometimes like I'm more hands-on.
Yeah.
And make like I said, I told you beforehand, type A. So I have a plan, I'll do it, I'll execute. When there's like more people, there's a lot more follow-up and a lot, like everyone executes perfectly on our team when it comes to conferences. But there's so many moving parts that you have to remember that moving part, where I'm kind of like, I kind of like just going and doing it. But yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Well, we got into it pretty deep. I think we went on a slight tangent.
Yeah. This podcast is not on conferences; it's on direct booking.
But I want you to kind of give folks that introduction to yourself before we go any deeper.
Yeah, I'm Frank Bosi. I am the Senior Director of Partner Development here at Hostfully. I've been with Hostfully for a little over 5 years now. And prior to that, I was doing leisure sales, corporate sales, and wholesale at luxury hotels, specifically in New York City. And then found an opportunity to move down south, and now we're based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Opened up and remarketed and rebranded a luxury hotel down here, which brought me down here and brought my family down here. And then ironically, like 6 months in to this new job, got laid off because of COVID. But blessing in disguise, if it wasn't for COVID, I would have never found Hostfully. So started with Hostfully in September of 2020. So it's been a ride for those 5 years. Like I said, our booths are growing year over year, but so is the company. So it's been 5 years of just significant growth. And just recently we celebrated our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So it's cool with the hospitality industry because, and hospitality, but doing sales, because sales is transferable. But what I learned in the hospitality industry was very transferable to the short-term rental space, especially with direct bookings specifically.
Yeah. Well, congrats on, I think, your 5-year anniversary. So as we're speaking, you probably just hit that 5-year anniversary mark in September.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So congrats on that. And also the 10-year anniversary of the company, or 10-year birthday. I don't know how you guys call it.
The anniversary. Yeah. 10-year anniversary. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
So even
we have like a lot of content out there on our social media. If you don't follow Hostfully, definitely follow us. You get all the news that way. But yeah, it's 10-year anniversary. We're growing.
wow, you've been with it for half the journey.
Mhm.
That's pretty big. That's pretty big,
Yeah.
especially in the tech space. Like I've been at I've been at 6 other startups before building this one, and 5 years is a long time to be at a tech company. So, and I think the folks I do meet that are in it for that long at one company, they really believe in the product,
Yeah.
but more so, I find that the culture is probably what pulls them and sticks them
Mhm.
in there. I would love to hear a little bit about you, of like kind of like how the company has grown and like what keeps you really like motivated to continue on that mission.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have like the old school mentality where you get a job, you stick to it, and you just get better and better within the job. But that's just me. I'm one salesperson on the team, but our entire sales team, I don't think anyone ever resigned from sales on the team.
Wow.
And that, the culture is great. And like I said, I've been here for 5 years and absolutely love it. We are a fully remote team and we're spread around the world. But culture is something that we protect, and Margot and David are huge on our culture. So we put a lot of emphasis, obviously, on partnership and responsiveness, and not necessarily just like dealing with clients and customers, but with each other specifically. So our Slack channel, as much as I love it, it's always blowing up with just catching up and side chats and conversations. And, there's this mindset that we're just we're co-building with our hosts and our clients. But we're also growing and scaling with them. And honestly, that energy just shows up in our product.
Yeah, and I work with a lot of PMSs, and I have a great affinity to some
There's a
very
lot
much
of them.
like just
Yeah.
yeah. There is a lot of you guys, and I think what I find is that everybody approaches how they run their company very, very differently, and
Yeah.
I actually learn to appreciate kind of like how the different teams do it, and I do feel like from a Hostfully standpoint, you folks are very hands on, and from the product, it shows that there's a craft to it.
Yeah.
Maybe, and you speak a little bit about co-building this together with hosts. I would love to hear from you, like, what are some of the kind of the anecdotes that you've kind of seen where that really comes through in the product development or even customer service, how you handle customers and how you just really make sure that your customers are successful.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with Hostfully, and that's what really sets us apart from the other property management softwares that are out there. We always get that question, like, why choose Hostfully over this property management software? And I mean, again, as stated, this industry is very saturated with property management softwares. It's a very incestuous industry when it comes to different softwares, specifically property management softwares. But really just two reasons always come up is first, it's Hostfully's ease of use. Like our platform feels approachable, whether you're managing like 2 units or 200 units. It's aesthetically pleasing, it's easy to use. And even with our tech stack and with our partners, it just integrates seamlessly because we do have one of the strongest APIs in the market. But then the second one is partnership, not just with our integrations, but with our clients. So every customer gets a designated customer success manager. We have 24 hours, 7-day a week customer support. Our CSAT, I think it's customer satisfaction. It's our customer satisfaction score. Right now, it's 97%. And I think that number just organically comes from actually listening to customers and just building on software based on their feedback. So if somebody says, hey, I could really use this feature, we have something called User Voice. They log it into User Voice, and the more requests that it gets, that feature makes its way to the top. And our dev team, which you would think like that usually, dev teams are like separate and quiet and just stick to themselves, not at Hostfully. Our dev team is phenomenal, and they have sales personalities. So, like the dev team, just they want to perfect the software. They want the clients to be happy. So they listen to everything. And I mean, Hostfully is not just, a scheduling tool or just a digital guidebook. Like, we're an all-in-one platform, like you said, that grows with you. So the property management software, the digital guidebooks, even our new Hostfully devices. And unlike a lot of property management software providers in the market, we're really focused on just helping you own the guest relationship, the building of your portfolio, the building of your brand, and not just manage reservations. It's not a heads and bends approach anymore. It's really important to build on those relationships with your guests. So we make sure that our software can accommodate that.
Yeah, I definitely want to pull on that just a little bit. But before I want to understand a little bit more about building your brand and owning the guest relationship, because I think that has a lot to do with kind of the next segment when we start talking about direct bookings a bit more. But I've definitely kind of to your point of the user voice stuff. I've posted things on the user voice before, and I'm like, oh, this is actually a really good tool. And I looked into getting it for us, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a pretty steep tool that I at least in our stage of the company, we can't float the budget for it. But it's a really impressive tool, and I love how you guys are using it to really make sure that at the very end of the day, the user has a voice to make sure that they can give you small feedbacks along the way. And then on the flip side, that the end kind of creator, the developer, the engineers, the design team, the product teams have access to that as they're building it. Because I've been at many organizations before where there's almost a wall between what the go-to-market teams say and give feedback on and what the product engineering design teams are working on. And it's really hard for that continuity to come through. Mm-hmm. So it's actually really nice that you guys have a tool where you're not hearing it from your CSMs or the account managers or the sales team giving feedback of what the customers want to build or what they need help on. You're actually giving that direct access from the user to the product development teams. That's different. It's very, very different.
It is. And even on our customer success calls, I always do a 3-month follow-up after I sign an account. And I always ask them hey, have you looked into user voice? And they're like, oh yeah, we know user voice. So it's not something that we keep hidden and bring up when, hey, I have an issue. Here's user voice. We tell all of our clients about user voice so they can ultimately help us grow our software. And that's what it really comes down to in this industry, again, is the innovation. And you can't be innovative unless you're open to getting feedback and criticism from who better than your own clients,
I think that's probably going to be the biggest difference. Yes, you're right. There are a lot of PMSs out there, and there's a lot of them. And I think that over time, that may not be true. Mm-hmm. But I do think that the ones that are really going to thrive and continue to grow are the ones that are continually keeping a pulse on the users.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see over time that there's a stark difference between people that market themselves really well, and there's a pretty big discrepancy between when you're on the Facebook groups, are people saying this is the PMS to go with? And there's a discrepancy there, and I find that more and more folks are leaning towards the ones that listen to the customers, because mm-hmm. we're not in the same world that we were maybe 5 years ago. No. Things are changing faster. There's more solutions out there. The guest expectations are changing. The technologies are changing. Oh, yeah. And the folks, the PMSs, and actually every technology partner in the space, the ones that are connected to the customers the most, the ones that are taking feedback and really turning that into products that are out in the market in a very short time frame, those are the ones that are thriving right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% hear you on the CSAT side of things. That to me, and you probably hear this already, but for me, product quality and customer service is very, very important to me as the founder of Craft Estates. I still onboard every single one of our customers. I know it's not sustainable. I know at some point I'm gonna have to give it away, and I won't be able to do it for everyone. But for me, it doesn't matter if you're a host with one property or a couple hundred doors. I want to get the feedback. I want to help folks be successful on our platform. And yes, I can have one of our account managers take that on, but that's an opportunity for me as a founder to
Oh
still
yeah,
like
and
stay
I'm
connected
sure
to it.
that they recognize that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing because people know, like every single one of our customers know me by name and they know how to communicate with me. They know how to reach out to me. And yes, like I kind of push them towards like customer service tools that if I'm in a podcast like this, I'm still having our team respond to things, but it's still nice to have that direct relationship. And again, it's not sustainable indefinitely. And I'm still in the phase of the company where you do things that don't scale, but to me, it feels like the right way to operate the company, and we'll figure out new ways of doing it when time comes.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what what Hostfully did. David and Margot, they were doing demos, they were onboarding people, and they had that one-on-one and that high touch. But yes, we scaled, and they had to kind of get away from that day to day. But they kept the culture, and they made sure that that was a priority. That whether you have one listing or you have 1,000 listings, you're still going to get the attention that you deserve. Because to be honest, it's those property managers that have 1, 2, 3, 4, a handful of listings that need probably more TLC than those that have hundreds of listings. So regardless, no matter what the focus or what the priority is for that property manager or that property management company, there's still priorities and there's still needs. So it's kind of just tailoring those needs to what they, what's going to help them scale or just to, make their day-to-day more sustainable and just less stressful overall.
Yeah. In the very beginning, when we did this partnership and we were I was working on like marketing materials. I went to your team and I was like, what is that sweet spot of customers that you really help? And it was hard to get an answer because we went from, if you're a small operator doing yourself, up to a couple hundred doors. And it's a pretty wide range. And I was like, how's that possible? Like, how do you create a product that is so, I don't know what the right word is, but it can kind of mold to so many different persona types.
Yeah.
And I think like it wasn't until I started working with you and we're starting to bring on clients, hostfully clients, and we're building out the direct booking websites, I'm like, actually, it's true. Like, unlike some of the PMSs where they may be either on the more high, like dozens and dozens of properties, and that's what their niche is, or other property management systems that are like the 1 to 6 and 1 to 12s. Like, you guys actually have a really wide range where when I see a hostfully customer sign up, and we find out how many property counts, it's a really big range there. It's really impressive that you're able to create a product that can graduate with a host or a property manager.
Yeah, and I think that stems from the importance of listening to our customers, because when we first started, we obviously couldn't accommodate a 200 listing property management company. However, that 200 property management company wasn't always 200 listings. They had 5 listings, and Hostfully was their property management software with 5 listings, and they grew and their needs grew, and we listened to them and our features grew with them. So I think that kind of really stems from these small property management companies that grew to be huge, and we grew with them, which I think helps us accommodate and, service the one property management, but also the 200, 300, 400. We even have a few accounts that are 1,000 listings. And it is our response time that helps us a lot as well. I mean, our customer success team is phenomenal. Our support team is awesome. And they're Hostfully associates. We don't outsource. They're all Hostfully associates. So they have Hostfully top of mind, top in heart. And that's their main focus, is we all share the same focus to just be the best property management software for that individual. Yes, we're not the best property management software for everyone. There's not one property management software in the industry that is. So it's that conversation and finding out, especially on the sales side, is what we do different as well, is we sell our software. And if, there's no lying, it's full transparency of what we offer. And if we're not a good fit, we're not a good fit, but let's keep the conversation going. So kind of all in all, it's all those like little things that kind of make us who we are, which, makes us successful.
Yeah. I think behind really successful companies are kind of the people and the teams behind it. And we talked a little bit about this, but the one theme that I'm picking up in this conversation is that there's not a strong barrier in terms of this is my role. I'm only doing this. And there's this really like hard stance of like, okay, this is how I'm treating my role. This is what I'm doing. And I'll pass it over to someone else if it kind of falls out of it. You mentioned how the developers have a very kind of sales driven or kind of sales mindset as well too. And the thing that I'm starting to piece together, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the team is really more in service of the mission and they all have unique skill sets that allows them to be successful at their job, but there's not this culture of this is my role, this is my job description, and I'm only doing this. It feels like as if the conversations are pretty open-ended where you have this place where people can give inputs on every different direction and it's not bounded by the role itself. And again, I'm only picking up cues and I'm extrapolating that between my experiences working in corporate. But that's what I'm getting from the Hostfully culture. So please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And every time like people ask like what makes Hostfully different, I always start with our mission, and our mission is simple. It's to help hosts take back control, but ultimately it's to help hosts streamline and operate their day-to-day. And really that's a huge focus. And it's great that we find people that have different specialties. Like you don't want me in dev. Absolutely. But you may want some people in dev and sales, to be completely honest. There's a few that are popping in my head right now. Some of my colleagues are just like, how are you not in sales right now? But we are, that's our one mission is just help hosts. Simple.
Yeah. I love it when you pull a dev into a sales call and you see that dev
but they do it.
rock.
Yeah. Even there's a few demos that I had. Like I said, you don't want me in dev. There were some technical answers. And that's another thing with Hostfully. If we don't know the answer, we're not going to give you an answer that's not true. We take it back, we find the answer, and then we get back to you, whether it's a yes or a no. It could be the answer you're not looking for. We're gonna be full transparent with it. But sometimes if it's a big account, I'll have our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer, one of the founders of Hostfully. He'll join and he's a natural. He'll just talk and he'll schmooze, and I'm like, all right, Steph, let's talk about Hostfully. It's enough chit chat. But yeah, it's so nice to bring them in sometimes, especially when needed, because they are a wealth of information in of themselves.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit. Over the last few months, maybe further back than that, I have seen this huge rise in direct bookings and more folks like really sinking their teeth into it. I didn't plan for this. I find it like very lucky and serendipitous that like we started the company when there's this like surge in demand. But I'm interested in hearing whether or not that's the same on your side as kind of the PMS powering a lot of the back end of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it as well, definitely. What we're seeing is more hosts are shifting their energy into getting more direct bookings. And a few years ago, it felt like a luxury, really, to get direct bookings. But now, in my opinion, I'm sure in yours as well, and a lot of property managers out there, it's almost a necessity. And even like across our customer base, our direct bookings have been trending up, I would say, year over year. And it's usually the same formula of, having a clean website. We partner with great people that provide that. Having the consistent branding and the automation. And, once those managers see it working, they're going to double down on direct bookings. So we've seen a huge uptick, especially, with, the OTAs. Sometimes they get a bad rep, but their visibility, Airbnb, Verbo, they bring in the bookings. But if you want long-term success and higher margins at that, direct bookings are the game changer, in my opinion. And you get those guests' email, you can remarket, you can upsell, you can build those relationships, and you could actually create this sense of loyalty, which just kind of, a nice little domino effect. So I could see why direct bookings have been up year over year. And even back when I worked in the luxury hotel industry, one of the biggest takeaways for me personally coming into the short-term rental field was how critical direct bookings were, or now are. And the great thing is my experience with hotels is that we just don't want this like heads and deads approach. Hotels want to own that guest relationship right from the very beginning. It was ingrained in us. And I worked for the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, like that's what they want. They want that guest loyalty and that branding. And I mean, that meant investing in our own website, our own strategies for optimizing booking flow, just overall, just to make sure that the brand message stood out from the OTAs, like Expedia, Hotel Tonight, like all of those. And now in the short-term rental industry, it's really not that different. It's really similar. And like I said, Airbnb and Verbo, they bring in the bookings, but if you want to build long-term success, direct bookings definitely is key. Since we are talking about hotels though, like something I did learn about hotels, and that just translates perfectly, is the idea of experience over the transaction. And I think a lot of property managers now, with all the webinars, the podcasts, the help articles, the coaching, the thought leaders, it's a huge focus on guest experience, which helps me because in luxury hospitality, every touch point matters. So the tone of your email is huge. The way the room is presented, the check-in flow, the experiences during the stay, that's exactly what hosts need to think about too. It's what sets them apart. As much as the short-term rental industry is saturated with property management softwares, the short-term rental market is saturated with short-term rentals. And you really have to set yourself apart from those. And direct bookings only work if you're offering that experience to guests that they want to come back to, or even like tell their friends and families about, And
Absolutely. I think like, sorry to cut you off there, but like,
please.
I think like it's a point worth doubling down on. From all the property managers that we work with, the ones that are most successful in direct bookings are the ones that really care about the guest experience. And we're not talking about just folks that have superhost status or have 5 stars. Like, I think there's a different mindset of folks that really care about hospitality. Those are the folks that are successful.
Yeah.
I know plenty of hosts that care about the 5 stars and they're really good at crafting out the guest messaging to them to make sure that they get the 5 stars. But then there's almost also this like other caliber of hosts that really think through, what do I want the guest to experience as they're booking with us? What do I want them to hear from us when, right after the booking, X days prior to the booking, checking in mid-stay, checking in with them afterwards? Like, there's this, I don't know if warmth is the right way to say it, or hospitality that goes into it. And when you put yourself in that mindset of being the host and you're trying to service that guest as much as possible, they remember that.
Oh yeah.
And I think like, no matter how good your marketing is, if you aren't delivering, and this is same goes for software products as well too, if you're not delivering on what the expectation is and going above and beyond, there's no way that you can get that guest to come back to you, or that user to come back to you, and they're not going to speak to you. They're not going to waste their time and speak to you, to their friends and families. But the hosts and property managers that really care about hospitality and can anticipate what the user is thinking and really trying to figure out, like, how do I give this person the best experience? They're spending their dollars in staying with us. They're spending their time. They can stay anywhere else. But how do we make sure that they enjoy their stay and possibly will want to stay with us again? Those are the ones that are really successful at direct bookings.
Yeah. Yeah, and having your own story and your own brand and your own just level of experience and how that translates to the guest is what gets you more direct bookings too. And even like with software, you can do it with Hostfully, but there's also a lot of AI powered messaging software that are out there that kind of just execute that for you. And if you have the right property management software and that integration with that specific messaging platform, it's seamless. And it alleviates so much more time for you. So you can now focus on growth and how to market and all that stuff, because all of that day-to-day conversations really just kind of take a back seat because you have a powered software that are doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a user of one of those AI tools, and I believe the founders are a user of Hostfully as well.
We're thinking about the same ones. Yeah.
I think we're saying the same one. And they use Craft Estates for their direct booking. So
sweet.
It's quite interesting to see this kind of loop there. And we're always talking about like, how do we kind of work together? And then and that's the powerful thing is like, not many folks realize this, but there's a lot of conversations that are kind of behind the scenes of not just doing an API integration where two companies can now work together, where this seamless onboarding, but like having conversations with them and with you folks of like, actually, how do we upload all this? Like, what are the new experiences that we want to light up? And those to me really excite me, because I'm imagining like, how can we make it so that, for instance, like we don't do anything with your guidebooks right now. Like, I would love to figure out like, how do we elevate and take information that you have in your guidebooks to deliver an exceptional direct booking experience?
Yep.
And bring that back into it. Like, so those are the types of things that I'm thinking about. And that happens beyond just reading API documentations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's the important part, especially with the short-term rental space. It's saturated with property management software. But then there is that opportunity to enhance guest experience with the digital guidebook. And there's so much more to Hostfully than just our property management software. As you know, and you mentioned, we provide the most underrated growth tool, in my opinion, in the short-term rental space. And that's the digital guidebook. And it can drastically transform operations and optimize and generate revenue. We actually have one long-term client there. I don't know if you've heard of them, Cabins for You. They're a hospitality company that now manages over 350 cabins. The great thing here is, and I pulled up their case study before our chat because it's mind-blowing what they've done. Before they deployed Hostfully's guidebook, their guest relations team was just drowning in those repetitive questions, like you said, and they fielded about 12,000 inbound calls monthly, and many of them were just simple requests that could have been answered via the guidebook. And then fortunately, they realized the strain that it was having on the staff. Too much time was being spent answering the same things just over and over again. And that's when they introduced the guidebooks. And in just 1 week, the team created 345 individual guidebooks, one for each property. And they designed these templates and these cards, that's what we call them, with arrival instructions, your local attractions, your restaurant recommendations, like your house manual, and then roll them out across their portfolio. And then I think their inbound support calls dropped from like 12,000 to 10,000 per month. It's like a 15% reduction in like, what's the Wi-Fi code? What's the Wi-Fi code, And then because of that, their revenues increased by 6% after implementing guidebooks, because they were now able to focus on the problems that they were having in their business and not investing all their time on answering what's the Wi-Fi code, So the step was, the staff after that, I mean, they were obviously less burnt out because fewer messages were coming in. But ultimately, it freed them up to handle the more complex tasks that you need to focus on growth. So that's it's pretty cool to see a drop in inquiries, but an increase in revenue simply by adding guidebooks. And then we also have, why not? Let's talk about upsells. With the guidebook, we have a partnership with Viator. So if somebody books an attraction via the guidebook via Viator through the guidebook, the property manager gets 8% of that purchase. So you could even use the Viator partnership for upselling, but then we also have something called the marketplace in our guidebook where you can literally sell a wine amenity, a pet amenity, I don't know, whatever you upsell, you can do so via the marketplace.
Yeah. As we're talking, I didn't intend this to be like a product ideation session, but I would love to kind of bring some of that further up funnel into the direct booking flow and I've talked to other upsell kind of providers there that focus solely on upsells. And that's one of the things that we want to highlight in there is that it's not just you're just booking the place to stay, but what else can we make sure that this is the right stay for you and this is the right place that you trust and want to basically have your vacation with. And I think upsell is actually part of really the conversion. Like it really helps also in selling and closing that stay as well too.
Yeah, no, it really does. And there's because the guidebooks are a URL link, you can include it in all of your communication. So even in like your pre-arrival email, you want to include the guidebook, just so they get excited. Like you can even have customized categories, like you have like restaurants and bars, like the usual. But you could have customized categories like beaches, wineries, lounges, hiking trails, co-working spaces. So there's like a whole bunch that you can use specifically for your market. But you're going to really like this one is with the guidebooks, we have something called the splash screen feature. And that asks the guest to agree to the terms to your property. But once or after they agree to the terms, it prompts them to collect guest email addresses. And that's a critical loophole around OTA policies. Yes,
right.
A few others are becoming a little bit more strict with those. But that's that, especially going back to Cabins for You, that was a direct line to market audience for direct bookings and their increase in seeing direct bookings.
Yeah. I think that just now, and I don't know how far back some of these features goes, but I think I find it right now, it's easier and easier to start to build your direct booking engine than it ever has before. And I think that over time, it's going to get easier and easier for folks where they're now able to build their own brand. They're able to deliver the level of service that they want that attracts people to come back. And I think the folks that lean in on that and that really think about hospitality the right way, those are going to be the one that's going to be really successful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What trends are you seeing nowadays what trends are you seeing nowadays and kind of how do you see Hostfully or yourself kind of evolving towards some of those trends?
The trends that stick out the most, direct bookings, yes. And just again, being on the partnership side and working with influencers and partners, there's a whole bunch of like trends that are happening. But it's really what Hostfully can do to execute what the guest ultimately needs. So, it's especially after like our most recent funding, like we're expanding. We just have, so accounting comes up a lot. Accounting's boring. Sorry, everyone who loves accounting. But, we don't get into this industry because we want to run Excel sheets every day. So that's a huge focus on ours is building like an accounting. We have an enhanced report feature where you can create your own enhanced report and you can also automate those reports to run daily, weekly, or monthly. So that's a huge focus of ours and definitely improving the accounting portion, especially here in North Carolina. Trust accounting is huge. And I see a lot of that bleeding into other states. So I feel trust accounting is going to be a huge focus, if not already. But again, we have one of the strongest APIs in the industry. So adding integrations that connect the tools to the host, we're already using. So we have that there. AI features. Yes. How could I forget? Direct booking, above direct bookings, AI.
Yep.
And, things like smarter messaging, pricing suggestions. We now have hostfully devices, which is huge. That's been we've received so much good feedback on hostfully devices just because it's just now centralized where the property manager can just do everything and automate everything directly within the property management software. And even like pricing suggestions, we integrate with all of the dynamic pricing tools and we integrate with them well, where it feels as though they're part of hostfully. Our tech stack is probably one of the strongest that we offer.
Yeah.
And the goal ultimately with all the trends, with all the fads, it's always the same. It's making hosting more sustainable and less stressful. Just because you equate growth with stress, it doesn't have to be that way. If you get the right software and the right features in place, you keep it sustainable and you'll see this gradual growth.
Yeah, we have folks that want to build a direct booking website and they'll come to us and we find out that they don't use a PMS and they're listed only on the OTAs directly, and maybe they're using iCal links, and they ask me, can we build a website? And I'm like, no, like we don't recommend getting into direct bookings if you don't already have a PMS in place, because at that point you don't have one centralized way to make sure that you're having the same pricing across all your different channels. You're not having to block off the calendars if you get a booking on one channel over the others, or your direct bookings. Like, you want to make sure that you don't get a double booking on Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com. Like, we want to make sure that you can run this almost on autopilot. Like, we want that to be very seamless. So like, we will really, like, if someone is interested in having direct bookings, like we say pretty much like, we can't do it without a PMS, and these are the folks that we will recommend to you. And so we encourage them, but it's also really surprising as you're saying this, like how much folks still don't have a PMS. Like there's actually a lot of folks, even outside of direct bookings, like maybe they're not interested in direct bookings yet, they're getting started, that they're still running everything directly on the OTAs themselves. I'm really surprised, because there is a lot that goes on with the PMS and a lot of energy that puts into just really operating your entire short-term rental business, and how much a PMS really pulls a lot of the repetitive stuff out of your way, where you're really focusing on more of the exceptions than anything else. Like, how do you continue to upscale and up-level your stays, but you're not really having to figure out, like, did I message my guests? Did I block off the calendar? Did I price things correctly? Like those, me as a host, I don't think about any of those things at all. And I don't know how people that are only on the OTAs are able to do it.
I know, and part of me wants to say it's like ignorance and not knowing that there's a software that can do that. But I've met many, even like when we travel for conferences, we always stay at short-term rentals, and I find out that they have 20 short-term rentals and they're only on Airbnb and all that stuff. And I try to sell them hostfully, but they don't want it. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
They find ways around it. They'll iCal their VRBO and Airbnb and vice versa, where they're blocking off each other's calendars.
But then they're the first ones to complain about double bookings, right?
Yeah. And then they'll like connect their price labs directly to the OTAs, and it's just like, I don't know. I think there's just a different way of looking at it, because then you have like one centralized place where you're managing it all.
Yeah.
And you have like almost like a God's eye view of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
You know what's triggering what. If you have an inquiry and you want to price it out, it's very easy for you to do all that stuff. I came from a world where we launched our first property, and luckily I had buddies around me that were already property managers. And so they taught me, and they're like, Gil, you have to have a property management system in place. Even on our first one, I was like, really, that seems really overkill. And they're like, no, you need to have it in place. And I'm so glad that I did, to the point where now I don't know how other people do it.
Yeah. And I always say, like, when we have the demos with like a property manager that has one listing, I praise them for looking into a software at that stage of their, the beginning stages of their business, because one of the worst things you could do is know about a property management software when you have one listing and not act on it and wait until you have like 10. Because then once you have 10 listings, you're across the board in channels. You have a lot of history with guests. You have a lot of future guests. You have a lot of guest experience to deal with. You don't have time to learn property management software. So if you have one listing, there's no better time. There really isn't any better time than getting a property management software right from the get-go, because you can use that as you scale, you're going to learn the software better and better and better the more you use it. And then by the time you do have 10 listings, the last thing you need to do is learn a property management software and transition all that data over, Yeah. So I always commend, and I make sure that if they have 1, 2, 3 listings on demos, just to, appreciate their insight and their want to look into a property management software. And that's also another thing with Hostfully. Yes, it's a daunting process to learn a software. Hostfully makes it easy because we have an easy UI and we're fun to work with, but we provide onboarding sessions. We have office hours. So Monday through Friday, 1 hour per day, we have a real life dedicated onboarding manager there to answer any outstanding questions. Then we transfer them over to our customer success manager, and then our customer success manager takes them on, and they have all of this stuff that they do with them. But that's going to be your customer success manager until your life ends with Hostfully. And the great thing is we saw such success with the onboarding office hours that the customer success team now has customer success office hours, Monday through Friday, 1 hour a day. And it's just an opportunity. If you're confused about the enhanced reporting, you jump on that meeting and you're meeting with a real life person. So it's, again, just going back to our support and our guidance with our users is key, because yes, it's in our business model. We want them to scale. We want you to grow. We want you to be successful so you can talk about how awesome Hostfully is. But it's stuff like that, it makes sense to be there for your clients and for your customers.
Yeah. I think like one of maybe the key drivers to your success or Hostfully's success is that you have built the system to accommodate for that gradual growth, and you built the systems kind of behind it, the customer service systems, the account management systems also. Not just the product side, but it allows people to grow, because I think one of the most challenging things is you feeling like you invested so much into your PMS and then you now have to graduate to something else and then learn another new system and migrate everything. That's a very daunting task. And I hear it every once in a while, actually probably more often than ever, more recently, that our folks are migrating different PMSs. I don't honestly hear that many folks migrating off of Hostfully. I don't remember even the last time I even heard of that.
That's awesome. And I mean, full transparency, we are a software. People do get annoyed with us. But going back, it's like they say that they want to cancel out of frustration because something happened, but we save them because we invest in them and we talk to them and we're like, all right, if this is the issue, let's talk about it, because you can do this, this, and this to prevent that from happening. And they're like, I didn't even know about that. And I'm like, well, that's what we're here for. So yes, there are issues that transpire. And if any property management software salesperson says that they never encounter any issues, turn away, don't look at them anymore. But and again, that's what sets us apart is we've significantly decreased our churn after focusing heavily on customer success and support. And of course, our constant innovative approach to features and capabilities that Hostfully offers.
Yeah, I believe it. It. What have you seen? Any feedback? So we've been integrated for a little while now. I forget how many months now since we've been integrated. Have you heard any feedback of folks either internally or from our customers of just like how the integration has gone or how the partnership has gone on your side?
Overall, great. They always talk about how fast it is and like how much easier it was than they thought, which was great. And even just building, because yes, you can have a really robust website, and there's phenomenal website developers that are out there. But the partnership specifically, and I think your listeners or your viewers haven't noticed, we kind of have the same mindset to customer approaching success and just enhancing the guest experience with our software in general. That's what they see and that's what they enjoy, and it's guiding them through it. And I think that's the big thing with Crafted Stays is you're still onboarding. You don't have to be onboarding your new clients, but you choose to because you want to grow and you want Crafted Stays to grow. And what better way than actually onboarding your new users onto Crafted Stays? So that's huge that you still do that. And even I'm sure once you grow significantly, which I'm sure you will very soon too, and very faster than you might think. But I also think that you're going to keep that culture even when you stop having the privilege to onboard your new users. So that's kind of the feedback that I get is that, it's hand-holding, guidance. You even offer suggestions too, which is helpful. Offer and I don't want to get into your pricing because I'm not a sales guy on your end. But ultimately, with what you offer is efficient and it's sustainable and it's, you control over your business, which is great. And that's even like the mindset shift.
Yeah, I think like the culture, you're absolutely right. Like, yes, I will get to a point where I won't sustainably get to onboard and get to meet every single person.
Yeah.
But you bet I will find some way to make sure that I don't lose touch. Maybe it's user voice or something along those lines.
No surprise there. Yeah.
But having been a product person for the last 15 years, I've learned that you cannot build product well if you're not constantly getting in front of customers. Yeah. You just can't. Right? And I've learned that the hard way. I've learned that through my entire career of building out teams and finding out some of the product managers on my team, they hadn't talked to a customer in 3 months and they're working on a feature and they think, okay, we have to get to MVP. We have to build this out. We have to get this to market.
Yeah.
And over time, I find that the really successful product managers, the one that builds the best products, the ones that get really good adoption are the ones that are constantly on the calls. And I know that in corporate, when you're building software for big Silicon Valley tech companies, it's really hard to have that open channel of communication there.
Yeah.
But the product managers that are constantly talking to their go-to-market counterparts, their CSMs, their account reps, they're getting feedback from them. They're asking, can I jump on your sales calls? Customers having an issue? Let me be there with you to help solve it. And those are the product managers that thrive and do really well. So like me as a product leader, prior to building this company, that was my big thing, is building a culture where the product team was as connected to the go-to-market teams as much as possible. So you bet there will be a day that I cannot sustainably be on every single one of those customer calls.
Oh yeah.
But I will not let customer service, being in touch with our customers, feeling out like what the customers need, that will never go away.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, it's completely feasible. We have over 150 associates at Hostfully now. And when it was just Margot and David and Steph and a few others, they were all doing it. But now they can't anymore. But that culture is still there. That's the feeling our clients still get, is that, we're thriving and we're growing with them. So I'm stoked that, that the culture has continued to be as strong as it is, even with our significant growth. And that's a huge priority for our C-level, like our executives. It's keeping the culture is one of the biggest things for us.
Yeah.
Because it translates,
right.
The
customers will feel it. Customers don't.
Oh, yeah.
Like they know when they've been sold something that may not fit them, or they made a mistake, or when something just feels right about the decision. Yeah. Maybe it was the conversations, maybe it was the product demo, but there's a big difference between being sold something and feeling like, okay, I made the right choice. And it's usually embedded in culture more than anything else.
Yeah,
And the same thing
it has to be. Yeah,
Same thing goes for hospitality.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
When a guest feels like you are really there to make sure that they had a really great experience and that you're not just reaching for that 5-star review, there's a difference. It's a very fine line in terms of like what you may see in the reviews themselves,
yeah,
but you'll see it in their direct booking rates. You'll see it in their repeat bookings. Like the ones that do really well are the ones that care about hospitality. And on the software side, the ones that care about the customers that are using the product.
yeah, yep. No, it translates on both ends for sure.
Yeah. Well, Frank, I think that kind of leads us to like our last leg of the show where I ask you 3 questions. First question, what's a good book recommendation? I am always looking for a good book. So what do you have for me?
Funny story. I have 2 kids, so I don't have time to read. But every time I see a book that gets recommended, I buy it with hopes of eventually reading it in my library with a martini.
Do you have a cemetery of books?
Yeah. So I literally have, we literally have a bookshelf. We have it built in, and it's all books that I've yet to read. But I am making good concerted effort to read more. My favorite book of all time is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I don't know if you've read it yet. Have you read it yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh. So I highly recommend it, especially now. It's almost October. It might be a good time to read it. And also Netflix is coming out with a movie. And I think it's in November. Highly recommend Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. But right now I am making good concerted effort to read more. So I am reading, promise. Hold on, let me see. It's called A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving. It was published in 1989. So it's like one of those old ones. So I kind of, when I do read, I like to read a new book and then an old book. And I kind of go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah. I find that
I'll send you a text of the bookshelf and you could just like feel that.
Yeah. I'll scan through. I'll make passive judgments on your choices.
Hey, book talk is real.
Yeah. Second question. What's one piece of mindset advice that you would give to someone that's starting something completely new?
Just baby steps. Keep it simple. There's no need to put the cart before the horse. Just keep it simple. And it kind of goes not even for someone with a new business. I mean, obviously for new hosts, start small. One action can make a big difference. Like launching a direct booking site. Send your first follow-up email. Don't try to do everything at once. And I always say consistency beats complexity all the time. But then that question can also kind of go back to the seasoned managers. And it's mostly just shift the focus. Because at that point, it's all about scaling smarter and not harder. You want to automate those repetitive tasks that you have every day. You want to nurture your repeat guests. You want to lean on data to refine pricing and just focus heavily on your marketing. And again, I think it's just, it kind of goes across the board for new hosts and seasoned managers. Is the end goal is the same. It's just not to have more work. It's not to burn yourself out. Stress does not mean success, and it's more efficiency, more sustainability, and ultimately just more control over your business. And you're just going to kind of skyrocket from there on in.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, folks.
Yeah. I remember the first ever version of Crafted Stays. I'm sorry for the first 5 customers that have been with us since the very beginning. Actually, all 5 of them are still with us, which is amazing. I would say even the first 10, 12, maybe more are still with us. We have a very low churn rate, but our product is so different now than it was like 18 months to 2 years ago. Like we didn't have the template editor. You couldn't make custom changes. It was just very bare bones. We didn't even have the ability to pull information from the PMS. So you use widgets all the time.
Yeah.
That was our first version. And the customers believed in us at that point. And we continually over time have gotten better and better and better and better to the point where like the early folks, like they've seen us move mountains in terms of what we've done. They're like, what's next for you guys?
Yeah.
And so it's been amazing. It's all like you said, it's baby steps. It's embarrassing, to be honest, in the very beginning, but
Well, of
Had I not
course.
taken those steps, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have evolved to what it is today.
Yeah. And just going back to like the mindset shift is like, just take it day by day, manage that day-to-day chaos, because you have to manage the chaos day to day in order to build a long-term and resilient operation and resilient product. So day by day, keep it simple, guys.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. All right. Frank, last question. What's one tactical takeaway that you would give to someone that's either getting started in direct bookings for the first time or trying to amplify their direct bookings?
There's so many things you can do. I think when it comes to direct bookings, one of the biggest lessons I've carried over from my time in the luxury hotel industry is that the fundamentals are the same. Whether you're running a 5-star hotel in New York City or a 3-bedroom short-term rental in Houston, Texas. The first thing is your website is everything. It's your marketing, it's your digital front door, and it has to be simple, clean, mobile friendly, and guests should be able to book it in about like 1, 2, max 3 clicks. Because if the experience feels clunky or confusing, they're going to go book on Airbnb or Vrbo. And that's like the main thing, because it's also your brand. And that's the first experience that guest has with you. But then going back to keeping it simple is direct bookings aren't one big push. It's not one big move. They're small, intentional steps that build on one another. You know, start with your website, make it clear, make it trustworthy, then layer in the email marketing, then build in the discounts. Just keep that relationship going. And then finally, you know, you can add the upsells. You can automate. You're not stuck in the inbox. And that's really, you know, where tools like Crafted stays, but Hostfully also shines. Because ultimately you do, yes, the direct booking, but then the other one, I would say this is a close second, is practice building trust with your guests and your partnerships and your strategic partnerships. Again, going back, and lastly, I'll end here. I tend to ramble, Gil, I told you. But in hotels, branding and consistency did the heavy lifting. As long as you had a good brand and you were consistent with that brand, you were golden. And in short-term rentals, that translates to professional photos, a transparent policy, transparent rental agreement, but also having the reviews. And social proof is what convinces a guest to hand over their credit card on your website instead of, you know, over to an OTA. So there are a few things, but get your website. Website is number one, because you can just share that with everyone. And there's that sense of, you get that like personal relationship with the host when you book direct.
Yeah, it's funny. I whenever I give this type of answer, I still also go to the same foundations. And almost like the step 0 for me is make sure that you have a PMS, because you cannot start without a PMS in place. So it's happy to hear that it's a fast follow to having a nice polished website. And I think you mentioned like making it simple to book. That is why it took so long for us to launch our integration, because I have a very strict standard in terms of like what experience I want to deliver. And we tried out using the widgets. We tried out different methods. We're like, this does not feel right. Like, this does not feel as seamless as we want to be integrated with. We don't want to just be another logo on the Hostfully marketplace. Like, we want folks to have a really good experience. And I'm glad we took the extra time to build a very seamless integration now where someone on mobile or desktop, they can search for properties, they can search for different dates, and we'll actually carry that date over. We were only able to do this because we decided not to use the widgets, and we reverse engineered and we try to figure out like how do we make it possible where we can make that seamless experience. And it's beautiful afterwards. It took work, but it's beautiful now.
Yeah. It's where you end. That's where it is.
Yeah. Well, Frank, it was a huge pleasure having you on. Again, I've been wanting to have this conversation for a very long time now, and I really appreciate kind of the partnership that we've been building together. It feels like we've been working on this or working together for a lot longer than I think we
I know.
even have been.
I feel like we've only known each other for like 6 months or something, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a great partnership. Just seeing
Same.
the success stories on both sides, it's been amazing. So I appreciate you and your team really helping in on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you today.
Mutual feelings mutual. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And you sharing kind of like how Hostfully is different. I love hearing all the conversations about culture and the features and everything. But I think honestly, like it really goes back down to like the team and the culture. That's what feels different on the receiving end of that side. So kudos to you and your team on everything you built, and congratulations on the 10-year anniversary.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the new round of funding. So it's looking great for you folks.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Gil. Like you said, long time coming, but I'm glad we got a date on the calendar, and now here we are. We thought it was so far away, and also just thank you to everyone tuning in. I really do hope someone or everyone leaves with at least one actionable item that you can apply to your business today, because it's just that one simple change that you need to make in order to kind of just continuously strive to be the best brand, the best short-term rental out there. So just keep on chugging.
Yeah, and you bet. Behind the scenes on the technology side, you have dedicated companies to make sure that you can grow.
Yeah. We're here for you.
Yep. Awesome. Take it easy, Frank. I'll see you at Verma.
Yeah. See you in a couple of weeks, Gil. Thanks again for having me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you soon.